Billionaire Adrian Hale never imagined that the empire he built with iron precision, ruthless instincts, and an unshakable sense of control would one day slip from his grasp like grains of sand through trembling fingers, but that was before the night the storm swallowed his private jet, before lightning clawed the sky like a furious beast and tore open the dark as if the heavens themselves wished to expose the secrets he had buried in the corners of his mind, before the crash that didn't kill him but stole something far more valuable, his memory. When he opened his eyes in the hospital 3 days later, the world glowed too bright, his head pounded with broken echoes of forgotten lives, and the only face he felt drawn to, pulled toward in a strange magnetic ache, was the woman seated at his bedside, tears trembling in her lashes like crystal rain reflecting a heart he somehow recognized even without knowing her name. She was breathtaking in a fragile, aching way, the kind of woman who looked like life had carved stories into her soul but refused to dim her quiet strength. And when she whispered that she was his wife, Elena Hale, Adrian's breath stuttered in his chest, not because the word, wife, comforted him, but because something inside him rebelled sharply against it. He felt something else instead, something forbidden and dangerous and confusing, the certainty that she wasn't his wife, she was his mistress. Or rather, he was hers. And so began the unraveling of a life built on power and ice when the man who once commanded boardrooms with a single word now demanded something far simpler, far more intimate, and far more terrifying. Hugs from the woman he believed he was secretly in love with, the woman he thought he was betraying, the real Adrian with, unaware that he was that very man. Elena didn't know how to handle the truth that her cold, emotionally unreachable husband, the man who once refused to hold her hand even during their wedding photo shoot, now clung to her like she was the only anchor in a world of blurred shadows. She tried to correct him at first, gently explaining that she was not his mistress but his wife, but the way he looked at her with boyish confusion and desperate yearning silenced her protests. He whispered, "If I'm your lover, why do you look at me like you're scared to lose me?" And her heart, already cracked from years of loving a man who loved nothing but control, cracked a little more. The doctors warned her that pushing him too hard could damage his recovery, that emotional stability was crucial, but how was she supposed to offer stability when she herself was drowning in storms he had created long before the crash? Their marriage had been arranged through business alliances, a cold transaction signed under chandeliers and diamond smiles, but she had fallen in love with him anyway, silently, hopelessly, while he built walls higher than his skyscrapers. Now, those walls were gone, shattered by amnesia, revealing a vulnerable man who looked at her like she was a miracle he didn't deserve. Adrian insisted that he and Elena must be lovers because no married couple could possibly have feelings this intense, this forbidden, this electric. He begged her every morning, with disarming sincerity, to meet him in secret, to hold him close away from prying eyes so that he wouldn't betray her reputation as a married woman. Elena broke a little each day watching him reinvent himself as the man she had always wished he could be. But the universe was not done twisting knives. As Adrian recovered physically, pieces of his old life whispered warnings to him, employees lowering their eyes in fear, board members stuttering around him, Elena's own tension whenever his old associates called. Something foul was hiding in the shadows of his past, something dark enough that even his amnesiac mind sensed danger. One night, unable to sleep, he walked through his mansion, which felt unfamiliar and cold despite its luxury, and found a locked room at the end of the east corridor. The key burned in his palm when he discovered it tucked inside a safe beneath the floor, as if the old Adrian had wanted no one to enter it. The door creaked open with a groan that seemed too human, too haunted, revealing a room preserved in time. Dust-covered photo frames, wilted flowers, and an old piano with a single broken key. Adrian's chest tightened violently, a strange pain bursting behind his ribs as if the memories trapped their clawed to escape. He saw vague images, his hand slamming the piano shut, Elena's voice cracking as she pleaded for something he refused to give. He staggered back, dizzy, clutching the doorframe as the room spun, and a blurry voice echoed in his mind, a voice that sounded like his own but colder, harsher. Feelings or weaknesses. Don't touch me, don't ask for more. The shame struck him like a physical blow. Had he really been that cruel? Had he really broken this woman who now held him like he was made of fragile glass? The truth seeped into his bones like poison, and he needed answers. But Elena flinched when he asked, her fingers trembling, her voice soft with unshed tears. Some truths hurt more than lies, she whispered. Some truths destroy what little hope we have. Before he could press further, the mansion's head security officer, Marcus Vane, cornered Adrian with urgent warnings that his amnesia was putting him in danger. Danger from people who wanted control of the Hale Empire. Danger from enemies Adrian himself had made. And perhaps worst of all, danger from the truth. Marcus hinted that Adrian's past wasn't just cold, it was violent. Ruthless. That he had destroyed lives to climb to the top. That he had crushed anyone who stood in his way, including Alina's dreams and career before she ever became his wife. Adrian felt suffocated, torn between the man he had apparently been and the man he wanted to be. The man he felt he was now, the man Elena hesitantly allowed to hold her heart. But then came the night that changed everything. A sleek black car chased Alina's vehicle off a cliffside road, leaving her trapped in the wreckage as flames licked the edges of twisted metal. Adrian, who had followed her after sensing something wrong, pulled her from the burning remains with his bare hands, shielding her body with his own as explosions lit the sky behind them. As she lay trembling in his arms, pain etched into her features, she whispered a truth she had carried for years, one that struck him harder than the fire. You weren't always cruel. You only became that way after the accident. He froze. What accident? Elena cried softly as sirens approached. The one you were never supposed to survive. The one that killed. Her voice broke. Our daughter. The world collapsed. A daughter. He had been a father. He had lost a child, and the grief had turned him into stone. The locked room was hers. The broken piano key was hers. The coldness had never been his nature, it had been his shield. The amnesia had not erased who he was. It had resurrected who he used to be before tragedy carved him hollow.